Well, it's been a while since I made a video. Sitting here, beautiful day in Montana, with my dog Bugs. She's right there. Do something funny, Bugs. Do something funny. Chase your tail. Chase your tail. Chase your tail. Ah, there you go. Get it. Ah. So yeah, she's a bit of a spaz. Like I said, beautiful day. Let me show y'all where I live real quick. It's a lovely Montana day. Yeah, so you guys get the general idea of why I'm inside. So anyway, I'm going to talk about a little bit about reamers. Chucking reamers, hand reamers. They're great when you have any kind of precision work to do any kind of pivoting shaft, carburetor work, if you need to redo a carburetor shaft. They're also quite expensive for decent ones. I mean, you can get Chinese ones for more than we really want to pay. But for good ones, they're quite expensive. What I do, as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, is eBay. I think you can get reamers for about $1 a piece in auction lots. Of course, they're used, and it's a gamble. I've had pretty good luck. I actually, I'll do the buy it now lots instead of auctions. I do a few auctions when it's a real good lot, but usually they get above what I want to pay. The buy it now ones are usually pretty good. I recently picked up this collection here for I think the lot was $120 with free shipping. There's 150 reamers in it, so less than $1 a reamer, and the majority of these are, so far from what I've seen anyway, I'm cleaning them right now, are in great shape for reuse for the stuff I'm going to do. I like working with brass and aluminum. It's softer metal. They'll cut through it without a problem. And also my tolerances aren't that exacting. So used reamers is really the way to go. What I'm going to do today, though, is show you, give you a rough idea of what I do with the used reamer. I mean, this one here, that's in reasonable shape. I probably wouldn't mind having that in my toolbox, but I'm kind of anal, and whenever I'm done with, well, aside from like my basic drill bits, I have a stack of drill bits that I don't bother cleaning or anything, but all my good drill bits, I usually take a toothbrush to them after I take them out of the drill, knock all the crap off of them before I put them back in the box. This helps just, keep dust down in my shop. I'm not ending up with indexing boxes full of metal chips and all kinds of other nasties. And it also, as far as I'm concerned, it prolongs the life of the tool. I don't have to take that tool out. I don't have any of that crap from cutting, use cutting oil or anything. And then after it sits for a while, it solidifies pretty solid. And by doing it right after I get done, I don't have any of that crap built up on there. I don't have dust collecting on it. Yada yada yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys, like this one. Well, that's just the grind on it. It looks dirty, but that's just the grind. This one's reasonably dirty. So I'm going to show you guys, and this one's a good size one so you can see what's going on. I'm going to show you guys how I re-clean these. This is also a trick that you can use for, part of this is a trick that you can use for older reamers to help them perform a little bit better if they've lost that nice crisp cutting edge. So here are my basic tools. Usually I have a rag on hand just because this gets dirty. Yes, I am doing this in the living room. That's why I have a box. If you do it right, you can usually get away with doing it just in a box. Sometimes I have this, I don't even know what this is. I think it was packing material from something. It's just like a heavyweight, kind of like a shop cloth material. Sometimes I'll, unfold that out in my lap just to catch any extra crap that flies off, just if I'm doing like really dirty stuff. And I can pretty much keep it all contained. So here are the tools that you'll need. Need a toothbrush. preferably one you're not currently using. I like a nice, well, I guess that's not even a 90-degree pick, but a nice sharp small pick, a wire brush. This was originally brass, according to Harbor Freight, but I don't know if you guys can see that. The brass color wore off. Either way, a steel wire brush, carbon steel or brass would be great. I'd probably stay away from stainless. It's a little tougher. You just want it to be weaker than your cutting edges. I have a small scraper. Profile doesn't really matter. You could probably sharpen the tip of a file or even use a pocket knife. I just use this for when I got some really stubborn crap in there. And a piece of Scotch-Brite. I prefer name brand Scotch-Brite. I've bought the generic stuff, I think from Walgreens. It's the nice brand. It just doesn't have the same, I don't know what you'd call it, the same kind of texture, and it kind of breaks apart and turns dusty real quick. Real Scotch-Brite brand Scotch-Brite is the way to go. There's probably like some M3 stuff out there that's just as good. A couple other things you might want. Shop rags, blue shop rags work just as good as any other rag. This one was just laying over here, so I've been using it. I went and got this because I'm going to be, one of these has, well, as you can see, some of these are taped. And, well, anytime you put tape on something, you always end up with an adhesive stuck to it when you remove the tape. Lighter fluid is one of the best things I've found. I mean, this is hands down equal to what's the stuff called, Gooby Gone or whatever, for removing any kind of tape adhesive, sticker adhesive. Lighter fluid. Rubbing alcohol is a hell of a lot cheaper, and it's satisfactory. The benefits of rubbing alcohol is it does not evaporate as fast as lighter fluid does. I mean, this stuff, you put it on the rag, you got to use it. You can't let it sit around. So, with all that said, I gotta adjust an angle so you guys can see. And so I have both hands. Suppose that'll probably be a sufficient angle. And yes, my corner is a mess. Okay, so I don't remember. There it is. So this is the reamer I'm gonna work on. Obviously, first step is if you have any kind of buildup or anything on the shank, the Scotch-Brite works great. I'm not going to be too thorough with this on camera, just to give you a rough idea. So yeah, I'll usually just, hit it down real quick. If you had some like pass tape or something on there, that's where this thing comes in handy. You can, scrape whatever off. Maybe you have some, who knows, whatever's built up on there. This comes in handy. I usually use the picks mostly. I don't like metal shavings inside where I store my tools. There's nothing worse than reaching in there and getting the whole back of your finger covered in small splinters. Also, every time these are used, is if they've never been ground down. I don't even know what that stuff is or what this guy was using this for previously. It looks like he was reaming marshmallows or something. But yeah, I like to, I'll use my pick to clean that out. I'm not gonna go through it real thorough right now. Then I'll just take my wire brush and I'll remount my flutes real good. Sometimes you got to do each side of the flute individually just to get all that crap out of there. Sometimes that crap won't even come out with a wire brush. That again is where a pick comes in handy, or the scraper. As you could imagine, the smaller the reamer, the harder it is. But say you got something in there that doesn't want to come out, you can just get in there and kind of scratch the edge. And the best thing is, you know, if you buy this stuff on auction, you only have to do this the first time, and then once you get done using your tool, if you just take a toothbrush, you know, that's usually all it takes, and then put it back in your toolbox. And you have nice clean tools for next time. There's no, you know, nice dry tools at that. There's nothing getting bound up on there. So that's the general principle. Now the real reason I'm making this video is when you have a reamer that's been getting some use, usually from the factory, they'll have a nice sharp cutting edge, and if you're misusing your reamers, it doesn't take long for that edge to dull, and that edge is going to dull either way. And once you regrind your reamers, they're never going to be the same size. So that's where Scotch-Brite comes in. And with smaller reamers, it's even harder to do. Sometimes when I work with like real small reamers, this is actually big enough to hold, but like, you know, real tiny ones, it's a lot easier just to have a drill chuck. Doesn't even matter if it has a shank on it, just the chuck itself, so you can just chuck the reamer up in there, and just gives you a nice big fat nice big fat handle for that reamer, so you can, you know, twist it and turn it. So anyway, the trick I wanted to show you guys, and it works for me, hopefully it'll work for you, is I'll take the reamer, holy hell, I got something stuck in my throat. I'll stick it in the Scotch-Brite, and the newer the Scotch-Brite, the better. If you're working with real small reamers, you need a new piece of Scotch-Brite, because all these little whatever they call them, pillows or whatever, tend to get caught up, and you know, like this little strand will get caught and it'll start wrapping itself around the reamer, and then you'll go to open it up and you'll have a bunch of Scotch-Brite strands wrapped around your reamer. But here's what you do: is you take your reamer and your Scotch-Brite, you know, just put it in there, fold it over, and then rotate this against the cutting edge. You know, you don't have to hold it real hard. I mean, I can rotate that with 2 fingers, so I'm not like really torquing down on it, and I'll kind of run it up and down just to make sure I'm getting a scouring across the entire flute area. And then this one's a little bit more difficult because somebody apparently custom grind it, but normally for the ends I'll just pinch it in 2 fingers like that, and then just give it a couple more twists. You know, it doesn't take more than, I'd say, a dozen twists around. And then once I'm done with that, I'll just take my toothbrush again, knock all that crap out of there. And that actually, you're gonna have to try this to believe me, but I mean, take your reamer, feel the edges on it before you do it, and then you don't even have to clean it. Just run the Scotch-Brite around real quick and feel the edges, and I mean, it will grip on all your little, if it's a good reamer still, all your little profiles on your fingerprints, you'll be able to feel it gripping on there. And the other thing this does is it doesn't really, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it kind of puts a secondary edge on it, as if you were like honing a lathe bit, and it just gives it just a little bit of a landing, but it's not enough to really remove the amount of material that's gonna matter when using it. I mean, I could still mic this before and after, and I'm not gonna be, maybe on the thousandths mic I might be able to discern you know, 25/10,000ths of an inch or something, but it's not going to change the geometry of the reamer. And you know, if you got any little burrs or anything too, it also helps you find those, which you can, you know, lightly stone off with a very smooth stone. So that's just a thought. I mean, being a home machinist, I'm actually trying to get in. I bought one tool and cutter grinder, and there's supposed to be another one in the freight truck right now, so I'm going to be getting into hopefully doing a bunch of just sharpening for the most part. I'm in a pretty small area, as you guys can see. I think there's 4,000 people in my town and 40,000 in the county. But we do have an abundance of small machinists, cabinet making shops, so tooling, cutting, grinding. We don't have anybody in this town. You have to go 46 miles for the closest tooling, cutting, grinding, and since I'm a little one-man operation with no overhead, I can beat their prices and save people 2 hours drive, especially when the roads look like this. So give it a try. Give me your comments, give me your likes if it works out for you, and hopefully your guys' weather is a little bit better than mine. Enjoy the rest of your day.